One thing nearly every musician battles at one point or another is nerves. If you're not used to performing, it can be scary to put yourself out there and play in front of others, whether it's a teacher, a jam circle, or an audience. Luckily, I have some tips for you today that you might find useful when it comes to this very common occurrence. So if you're ready to overcome your fear of playing in front of others, just keep watching. Hi, I'm Lauren, a professional violinist and fiddle player currently living in Nashville, Tennessee, and I help thousands of people achieve their violin and fiddle goals. If that sounds like something you'd be interested in, consider subscribing to this YouTube channel. We would love to have you here. Oftentimes, nerves can inhibit our ability to perform at our best. That's why maybe in the past you found that no matter how much you practice and have worked on your tunes or pieces, when you get up there on stage or in front of a teacher or a friend or family member, things just seem to fall apart. Well, that's because of nerves, and it's very common for this to happen to performers and musicians of all kinds. So hopefully the tips that I have for you today will be helpful. Tip number one, remember that you are your own worst critic, and likely no one is judging you. Especially if you're playing with other musicians, they're probably focused more on what they're doing or the music in general, and they're probably not paying a whole lot of attention to what you're doing. So don't stress yourself out with worrying about what other people are thinking about how you're sounding. Just try to enjoy the moment and soak up the experience. Tip number two, try to focus your attention outward. So if you're playing with other people in a jam setting or otherwise, try to see if you can focus on what the other musicians are doing. Even if you're performing in a band on stage and have an audience in front of you, instead of worrying about the audience and what they're hearing, try to just focus on the experience that the band is creating together. So take a look at maybe the guitar player or the drummer or whatever instruments are making up the group. See if you can pay attention to each individual and focus your attention on them and what they're doing and listening and interacting with them so that you're not so focused and caught up on what the audience members are hearing. If you're in a situation where you're playing solo, try to think about what the music means to you. Is this a piece or a tune that you're particularly fond of? Is it one that you have put a lot of work into? And if so, why? Why is it important to you? Think about those things as you're playing and try to get into that mindset of just experiencing the music and let it wash over you as you're performing instead of worrying about how it's coming across. Number three, what's the worst that can happen? Truly, think about it. What is the actual worst thing that could happen if things go sideways? Usually just asking yourself that question will start to calm your nerves and put your mind at ease. And if you think about the worst case scenario, it's unlikely that you're going to get booed off the stage or kicked out of a jam session, or even if you're working with a teacher, it's unlikely that, they're going to cancel the lesson because of how you're sounding. It's just not very likely. So instead of worrying and stressing about how you're sounding and the way that you're playing, try to just focus on what you can learn and gain from the experience, and remember that your worst case fear is very unlikely. And lastly, number four, overall, just try to relax and enjoy yourself. I know it's easier said than done, and that's probably why you're here, but at the end of the day, music isn't that serious, and people who are coming to watch you just want to see you have fun, and they want to enjoy themselves as well. So the next time you find yourself in a performance situation, I hope you'll keep these things in mind and try to shift your focus away from your nerves and how you're feeling and more onto other, more positive aspects of music making. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Happy practicing.